Good morning. Happy Thursday. So I heard a new one yesterday. So you have May the 4th be with you. And then the next day it's Revenge of the 5th. My daughter told me that. I'd never heard that. Okay. So we're going to learn kind of a new word today, but if we have heard it, we're going to explain it even better. Neuroassociative conditioning. Now, you've heard me say before that I'm trained in NLP and I'm trained in all this stuff. NLP is what used to be called neuro-linguistic programming. And it was changed to the word that I just gave you, neuroassociative conditioning. Same thing. NLP and neuroassociative conditioning are the same thing. The reason that it was changed is because neurolinguistic programming gave kind of the wrong idea. It gave people the idea that once they went through a process one time, that then they were programmed and they were done. They didn't have to worry about it. They couldn't go back to their old habits. So like, let's take smoking. Somebody who was a smoker, they went through an NLP conditioning session, coaching session, and they were better. Well, they thought, well, I can never go back. I'm now programmed to do it differently. No, you can always go back. You can always reprogram yourself the old way. So we turned it into conditioning because it's like staying in physical shape. You have to do it again and again and again. You have to do it all the time. So what is neuroassociative conditioning or neuro-linguistic programming? What is it? Well, let me ask you this. If I were to say 588-2300, everybody that's watching just said Empire, that's neuroassociative conditioning. If I play the Rocky theme song, if I, show 9/11, we talked about that yesterday. When we have a conditioned response to any type of stimulus, that is neuroassociative conditioning. And it's something that is happening all the time. It's something that we're doing all the time, but more importantly, it's something that's being done to us all the time. And let's talk about why it's important, talk about how to do it. Why it's important is because not only is it happening all the time, but we want to be at the cause, not the effect. You want to be the one that is designing your life. You don't want to be part of somebody else's design for theirs. Let me say that again. You want to be the one that designs your own life. You don't want to be part of somebody else's design for their life. So to design your own life, you have to take control of your own neuroassociative conditioning. You need to condition yourself in the way that you want to be conditioned, and not let other people in this box or the TV box, I just pointed to the TV that's behind me, that's over there that you can't see, condition you in the way that they want you to be conditioned. McDonald's wants you to be conditioned, or your kids to be conditioned to eat their food. The alcohol companies want you to be conditioned to use their product. And, commercials are a tremendous example to look at how this is done because they're so good at it. Look at what cigarettes did years and years and years ago. How did they get you to use that product? It was a product that they knew killed everybody, but they knew it was highly addictive. But nobody takes a puff off a cigarette the first time and go, this smells good, this feels good. Nobody breathes in smoke for the first time and goes, oh, that feels amazing. I mean, that's not the way that it works. How did they get you to do it? And very few people drink alcohol for the first time and think, oh my goodness, this tastes amazing. That's usually not how it works either. So how did cigarette companies do it? Well, first of all, think of the name of the cigarettes. Kool, Kool. I mean, they did things like that in order to start conditioning you to want the product. And then what did they do? They took people, movie stars, and had them smoke. Cigarette companies went to Hollywood and said, we will pay you tons of money to have the coolest people in the movies smoke and to have the hottest women in the movies smoke and do it at the most, sensuous times. Do you smoke after sex? I don't know. I've never looked. But they conditioned you in order to have you think that this is how you're supposed to be. This is what you're supposed to do. If you want to be like James Dean, then you need to smoke. If you want to be like, one of the female actresses back in the day, then you need to smoke. Same thing with alcohol. Like I said, watch the commercials, watch beer commercials, watch White Clam commercials. That's the big one now. And I mean, young people doing young people stuff. They're happy. They're having fun. They're doing all kinds of things. And then bam, flash the product. Bam, flash the product. Bam, flash the product. Okay? Commercials are neuroassociative conditioning. So you are constantly being conditioned. And the point of today is to label the puppy so you know what's going on all the time, and then to know that you're the one that actually can decide this. You can change your condition to anything at any time. So let me ask you this. Can two people have the exact same event and have two completely different responses to that event? The answer is yes. Can two people experience the same thing and feel completely differently about it? The example that we've done before, Bruce Springsteen, Barbra Streisand. Bruce Springsteen can't wait to get on the stage, loves to perform, never wants to stop. Barbra Streisand had incredible stage fright. Carly Simon was another one, had incredible stage fright, hated to perform, had tremendous difficulty with it, said that she had incredible anxiety attacks. Okay, here's the symptoms. Bruce Springsteen, before he's going to perform, my heart starts to race, my palms get sweaty, my body gets tense, and as soon as that happens, I know that I'm ready. Barbra Streisand, my heart starts to race, my palms start to sweat, my body gets tense, and I know that I'm having a breakdown. They're having the same experience. They've just labeled the experience in two different ways. So we can, think about an example that you have of somebody who has taken something negative but associated something positive to it, and so that way they've turned it into something that they like, even though it's a bad thing. So take an example of kids. If a child doesn't get attention doing good things, what are they going to do? They're going to do bad things in order to get attention. So if you've got a child that parents aren't paying attention to because they're distracted for whatever reason, and the child goes and gets in trouble, and now the parents pay attention to it, even if the attention is not positive, even if it's negative attention, at least they're paying attention. And we will seek attention even if it's negative as opposed to zero. The opposite of love is indifference. It's not hate. So I saw this with successful parents in particular, where they were just incredibly busy, and then all of a sudden their kid will go off and get in trouble. And they couldn't understand, why is my kid going and getting in trouble? Because then you're paying attention to your kid. Even if the attention that you're paying is that you're mad at them, at least you're communicating with them and paying attention to them and not paying attention to your company or your business or whatever else is going on in your life. Negative attention is better than zero attention. So those kids would start to associate getting in trouble with good things because then their parents came and saved them and paid attention to them, and they at least felt some love in that situation. Remember, everything that we do to avoid pain and gain pleasure. And avoiding pain is avoiding fear. And we always have the same two fears. I'm not going to be enough, and I won't be loved. It always breaks down to that. So that's the pain that we're trying to avoid. I'm not going to be enough, and I won't be loved. So we can take something bad and make it good. Can you associate people that exercise all the time? What do they associate to the exercise? Do they think about the pain? No, they don't think about any of that. They think about how good they're going to feel when it's done. They think about how it releases tension. They think about how it releases stress. They think about how it makes them sleep, the therapy that they get, all of that. Those associations are the reason that they exercise all the time. Associations are associations to money, drive us tremendously. You know, I was raised Catholic. I mean, if you were raised Catholic, how much, well, first of all, you got guilt about everything if you were raised Catholic. But if you were raised Catholic, how much guilt was surrounded around money? You know, it's easier for a camel to get through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to get into heaven. All of these things were conditioned. This is neuroassociative conditioning. So the point of today is to just know what it is and to understand that it's happening all the time, and you need to pay attention to it so you can condition yourself the way you want to be conditioned. You want to be conditioned to be healthy. You want to be conditioned to eat right. You want to be conditioned to have energy. You want to be conditioned to be driven towards your goals. You want to be conditioned in order to think positively about financial freedom. You want to be conditioned in order to think positively about your relationships and all of those things. So we need to gain control of our neuroassociating conditioning, our neuroassociative conditioning, so that we're at the cause and not at the effect. So you were supposed to write down 4 things yesterday. Hope you did. If you didn't, write them down. What action did you take towards those things? And then just for today, especially if it's something that has been on your list for a long time, what are the associations that you have to that particular item? You know, what associations are there? And just think out of your, other than conscious mind, and let it flow, and just ask yourself, what do I associate to that? If it's like losing weight, do you associate giving something up? If it's money, do you associate I have to work a lot of hours, I have to be a bad person? What is it that you associate to those 4 things? And just think about it. Let's just bring everything to our conscious for now, and then we'll take the next steps later. But neuroassociative conditioning, know what it is. Commercials are the greatest way to learn and pay attention about how this works. So watch those. Next time you're watching anything, pay attention to the commercials, see how it is that they associate to something, and then start thinking about what are your associations to the big things that you want. Your health, money, relationships. Think about marriage. What does our society associate to marriage for guys versus girls? Traditionally, I think the next generation, it's certainly significantly different, but if we look at my generation, for girls, if you weren't married by a certain age, it was, what's wrong with you? What's the matter? An old maid. What's an old maid? That's a lady that didn't get married. What the hell's the matter with her? Why didn't she get married? You have to get married. Otherwise, I saw tons and tons of divorces because girls got to a certain stage in their life where they were like, well, it's time to get married. I'm 20, I'm 19, I'm 22, so it's time to get married. So I'm dating this guy, so I'm going to marry him. They didn't think, there was nothing about it that made sense to them other than society had told them that it was time to get married. So they did. Well, and what do you know? They ended up in my office. What about guys? The ball and chain. Your life is over. You better have fun before it happens. Okay? What type of associations are there? The associations are lack of freedom. What's the number one value for feminine energy in the United States? Security. What's the number one value for masculine energy in the United States? Freedom. So, can we see why we've had some problems with marriage in this country based upon our associations? Feminine energy has been told it has to be married in order to have security. Masculine energy has been told when it gets married, it loses its freedom. Those are the associations that we've attached. Hard to believe why marriages are doing so poorly in the country. Start bringing this to your conscious, because it's going to help you in terms of how we're going to program you for the rest of your life, how the associations that you're going to create. So write down the 4 things. If you haven't done them, do them. And then what associations do you have to those things? And what action are you going to take today towards achieving them? And then tomorrow, we're going to talk more about how do we create an association and what do we do with these associations once we've got them. All right? Have a great Thursday, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. We're all in this together. Let's take care of each other. I'm going to say good morning. I haven't said good morning to everybody in a while. Good morning, Uncle Bill. Great to see you, sir. We got to have lunch here soon. Mr. Williams, great to see you. Dolores, as always, and my friend Tracy, you did such a great job on that case that we just got done. Thank you for everything. You were spectacular. We're going to do some work this summer. Good to see everybody.